Now Dan Bilzerian is claiming he lost $700 million for speaking out against the Jews.
I had it was like a $700, $800 million exit for my company that I fucking screwed up because of this,
God,
that's half of that. So
holy shit, that's a lot of money.
Let's stop the cringy trashiness right here. Dan, you didn't lose $700 million for telling the truth. You lost public trust because you and your father have been accused of literally lying to your investors. You manipulated stock prices. So essentially, you laundered your lifestyle through a fake imposter image built completely or partially based on fraud. Let's review the receipts, okay? Dan's company, Ignite International, got busted by U.S. federal investigators, right? You may remember that. They were alleging that Ignite basically falsified invoices, fake invoices, backdated financial documents, and then they pumped out fake revenue to inflate their stock prices. And the scheme was basically directed by Paul Bilzerian, which is Dad's dad, who's famous for fraud and a convicted white-collar sleazy criminal who still owes over $180 million to the SEC from a 1980s fraud case to people who trusted him, and he scammed like a cringy con artist who is Dan's hero. Now, some would say like father, like son. I won't say that though. Dan says his empire came from poker winnings, but investigators are saying it's actually shell companies and Ignite was using cash to hide the family's millions of dollars. And emails as evidence from Paul Bilzerian. That's not Dan pulling the strings like he misled you to think from a cringy IG video where he needs women around to feel confident because he lacks the self-confidence to do it without like a man. And I'm not even talking about the video where Dan threw a girl over a roof like a complete psychopath jerk. Now, they even backdated 4.6 million in fake credits to make Q4 2020 look profitable, which pumped Ignite's stock price from 57 cents to $1.57 in a single day. That's not poker, Dan. That's fraud, according to federal law in the United States. And it's a federal law designed to protect innocent, hardworking Americans from scam artists. And while Dan hasn't been criminally charged, the SEC and federal courts are saying Ignite lied and grifted about who controls the business. They believe Paul Bilzerian was secretly running the show behind Dan's Instagram fame, which makes sense considering Dan's low IQ. Dan needs to constantly talk about women like they're dogs and mistreat them to feel good about himself. So when Dan tries to play the victim, blaming Jews for his downfall, just know the fact check, which is it wasn't a conspiracy that took sleazy Dan to fraud down. It was the same pattern of lies, fraud, and deception his father pioneered decades back. Dan is a degenerate gambler in Las Vegas, basically, with an awful, horrible reputation among even gamblers. Think how low degenerate you must be that even gamblers look down on you. This isn't a story of cancel culture. It's a story of getting caught like an idiot. This is bigger than Dan. This is bigger about my fact check. It's about finding back and fighting back, rather, against the oldest hate in the world, now wrapped in memes, AI screenshots, and influencers for hire. But here's the part no one told you yet, but I will. Dan's sudden cringy Jewish hate meltdown didn't come out of nowhere. It came after he got exposed, right? You notice that like millions of others are noticing his grift. And you know who else is noticing? The federal investigators, the financial watchdogs, and whistleblowers. So what if I told you that his whole empire, the mansions, the yachts, the poker legend story, maybe the prostitutes, who knows? It might be built on fake invoices, offshore trusts, and the same fraud his sleazy criminal father went to prison for, scamming those innocent Americans. Because this story isn't about faith, it's about distraction. It's about Bilzerian greed. It's about how propaganda gets weaponized by the same people who got caught lying. Let me show you actually how much deeper this goes, just when you think it doesn't go. You're looking at a millionaire playboy who has girls from like basically promoters at nightclubs, not even his, who built his brand on guns, girls, and gambling, suddenly posting Jewish hate propaganda straight out of a Nazi playbook or from Qatar. And nobody's asking the red pill question. Who's paying Dan Bilzerian to rewrite history? If you're ready for the red pill, please keep listening and send this video to 2 of your friends so they avoid getting scammed, just like I want to help you. You see, Dan Bilzerian isn't just wrong. He's recycling a century-old anti-Semitic lies dressed up in AI screenshots and hand-picked Wikipedia links. Just like a grifter of useful idiots for a hostile country that hates America. He says on X, Jews killed 60 million Christians, a lie so dangerous it sounds like it was written for him in Doha, Qatar, not typed in Los Angeles, California. Let's be clear, fact check, guys. The Bolshevik regime was totalitarian. It prosecuted all faiths. Fact check me. Fact check Dan. Go look for yourself. Lenin and Stalin had no interest in Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. They only cared about hard power. And most Jews suffered under Soviet rule. Many were imprisoned. Many lost their lives. So saying Jews killed Christians is like blaming all innocent Muslims for ISIS or all innocent Americans for slavery. It's not just inaccurate, it's pure hate and a lie.
They are overrepresented in every single fucking category. They're crushing it across the board. And not just a little bit. I mean, I'm talking about like 3,500% overrepresented in categories. And we're talking about government. We're talking about banks. We're talking about media. We're talking about Hollywood. We're talking about all the important positions.
Dan claims that 84% of Bolshevik leaders were Jewish. What a low IQ comment, or deceitful. That number has been debunked by every serious historian. The actual figure of Jewish involvement in early Bolshevism was teeny tiny. And most Jews in the Roman Empire, the Russian Empire, opposed the revolution. So why lie, Dan? Because this claim that Jews masterminded communism to destroy Christianity is a classic piece of Nazi propaganda used to justify the Holocaust. Dan didn't invent this lie. He's too stupid. He's too low IQ. He's just a shirtless influencer, dumb enough or corrupt enough, using daddy's money to repeat it until daddy's money runs out. Maybe Dan took too many steroids, or he took way too much TRT, his mind's cooked. Or maybe he's just a bitter Armenian who's upset because, as we all have seen, Dan went to Armenia, was in the military. He's angry about Armenia's relationship with Israel. Dan's brand is built on illusions. He said poker made him rich. Let's fact check that. Paul Bilzerian was convicted of securities fraud and left a trust fund offshore, some of which allegedly helped Dan pay his Instagram Playboy image on your feed. He's never built a business like I did or other small business owners across America with doing honest work for customers and hard work. He's never won a poker championship. And now he's suddenly an expert on 20th century Russian religion demographics? Come on. So ask yourself why every other journalist or no journalist is asking. Why was Dan Bilzerian in Qatar last year? Who paid for that luxury jet that cost maybe $300,000 to get there if Dan is facing fraud charges? And didn't he just lose his home in California? I don't know. I'm just asking questions, guys. The questions Candace Owens refuses to ask. Why are people who've never talked about history or faith, or hardly ever in public at least, all of a sudden pushing Qatari-aligned Al Jazeera propaganda? Qatar funds anti-Israel media campaigns. Qatar owns influencer networks targeting Western minds with hard disinformation. Qatar pumps billions into social media and colleges, which makes sense. Invariably, some of these influencers that you know and like and respect right here in the United States are getting paid. I know you don't want to think that, but some of them that you trust are. They're lying to you. And it's not a conspiracy, it's documented. U.S. intelligence has already flagged Qatari-linked info ops on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Millions are spent. Millions, at least thousands of accounts run from fake identities. They're fake Americans. So ask yourself, why does Dan go from bikini models to Bolsheviks? Did someone offer a check? This is bigger than that. This is about a coordinated online campaign to drive a wedge between Christians and Jews by rewriting history and weaponizing religion. Jews and Christians fought side by side against communism. Please fact check me on that. Many Jews lost their lives under Stalin. The Soviet Union tried to erase both Judaism and Christianity. But now, extremists want to turn Christians against their Jewish neighbors by pushing lies like this one, and they're using influencers as useful idiots and paid pawns. Dan, if you're seeing this, you're not a historian, you're not a leader, and I'll tell you that in your face. And if you took money to push this filth, you're not just a fraud, at least that's my opinion of you. Dan, to me, you're just a big, fat traitor to the country that gave you your platform. To everyone else, please do not fall for this trap. Don't let the oldest hate on earth, or one of them, dress itself up in memes and fake Wikipedia stats. Call it out, speak up, push back. Because when good, innocent people fight back, that's how we can defeat propaganda, not when you're silent. So do not let this slide. Share this video with a couple of your friends right now. And join me in this movement to fight back on hate, and do your part, because I can't do it without your help. Comment, subscribe to this channel, and hit that bell so you never miss when the truth comes under attack again. Because this next situation, maybe they'll be coming for you.